Attention, Camp Video Games! This is Head Counselor Michael Mayonnaise! I think there was something wrong with my vitamin tablets. They were covered in black mold, but I ate them anyways, and now I think God's trying to kill me! Please disregard anything else I say for the rest of the day. Campers, that is all! Oh, jeez. I probably shouldn't have said that. Is this still on? Oh! Where's my tablets? Oh, well, let's talk about the Legend of Zelda cartoon episode 2, Cold Spells. Sounds hot!
This is delightful. I'm so glad we came here. Feel those vibrations at Camp Video Games.
Hello there, campers. Welcome to Camp Video Games. This is your junior counselor, Sean, and with me is...
Oh, that's right. It's Junior Camp Counselor Josh here.
And we're just plumb delighted to talk with you, our happy campers, about the Legend of Zelda television series from 1989. We're up to episode 2, Cold Spells. And this was written by Phil Harnage, or maybe Harnage.
Bob Forward handed over the reins already in the second episode.
Well, you know, a good leader uses his team. You know, he doesn't take on all of the responsibility. He shares it. And, so, you know, here at Camp Video Games, we like to talk about video games and video game adaptations across a whole bunch of different mediums. And, you know, the Legend of Zelda TV series, as we've gone into great detail already about, is... you know, it's very different than the video game on which it's based, but it does use a lot of the same familiar landscapes, characters, etc., etc. But it really, the sense of adventure in Zelda is this is a different interpretation of the hero's journey, I guess you could say.
I don't know. It definitely is not the typical hero's journey format, but
no, actually, Joseph Campbell wrote the Legend of Zelda TV series.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, he was integral.
No, but whatever. If you're some sort of weird sicko who started this podcast at episode 2 of the Zelda animated series, go back and listen to the first episode.
It's worth your time.
That's all I'm saying.
You know, we had a blast putting it together, and I think you're gonna just love everything we've got to say, and you're going to agree with everything that we say. And if not, then camp's out.
Yeah, you gotta go home. No more free juice boxes for you. Anyway,
days of free juice boxes. You fools. Episode 2, Cold Spells. It opens up with an exterior shot of Hyrule Castle. You know, just green fields. There's like a hut, but the castle itself, it looks like a Disney, you know, a classic Disney princess castle. You know,
I just want to know, because I don't know if we did get into this in the first episode, how it is odd. Like, it is an odd design. It has like almost this like natural mushroomy like angular growth to it.
Oh, like how the turrets,
the way the turrets are designed and stuff, that it feels outside of what makes sense in Hyrule, which we, again, go back to episode 1. We explain why these things happen.
I think I've got the answer to this. I believe it was drawn by a person who does not understand architecture. But that's no slight against people that worked on this show.
Or they thought natural sort of medieval castle architecture wasn't quite phallic enough.
If your dick looks like one of those castles, you go to a doctor. So... although the turrets are purple. The walls are white, the turrets are purple. It's just like a normal, good, red-blooded dick. But enough dick talk. It's the first day of spring in Hyrule. Zelda, she asks Link, he's like, what do you think that means? Now that spring has sprung.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun thing that like they have the concept of spring cleaning. Like I don't know if there is some sort of cultural relevancy to spring cleaning, or if it just makes sense. Like that we've all just as humans adopted. Like, yeah, new life. The sun comes back. You just want to get your life tidied in order. But like they do. Oh, they do spring cleaning too. Okay, just I don't know.
It's like in the Lord of the Rings, they have like the same calendar as us. And like they're like, oh yeah, I'll see you on July 11th, and you're like, oh okay, like cool. I know when that is. I got actually side note, I got these great illustrated Lord of the Rings calendars that were from 1976 and 1977, and they had these amazing illustrations from the books. And on the days that specific, like, you know, I forget the specific date, but it's like, you know, September whatever, Bilbo Baggins' birthday. And you're like, oh, okay, cool. That's enough of that. But yeah, it's spring cleaning time. Zelda asks Link, she's like, it's spring. What do you think that means? And Link, you know, I'm gonna say player plays. Like, he's like, what does it mean? It means love is in bloom. And he picks a flower, presents it, and he's not being like a creep as much as he's been in the past or as he will be in the future. He's like, just being a smooth operator right there.
He's making a move, you know. It's given the pretext of the relationship, it's not too creepy. Not as creepy as his other moves.
Now, the relationship between Link and Zelda in this series, like, is it like, does he sign like an annual contract to be the hero, or is that like?
I think this is like more of a question for the next episode, because it comes up like, who's that guy that like hangs around or whatever. And so we'll hold on to that for just a little longer.
I guess that's true. He did enough to become a hanger-on.
Yeah.
That's cool. But so yeah, Link, he's like, you know, love is blooming, and Zelda like kind of leans in. She's like provocative. She's like, oh, does that mean you feel strong and brave and noble? And he's like, you know, in his brain, he's like, oh my God, it's about to be smooching time. Yeah. Like I did it. I finally did it by being honest, being upfront, and you know, seizing and using my creativity. I'm romantic at heart. Here's the flower, love is bloom. You know, and then no, Princess Zelda is totally playing him. She tells him it's spring cleaning time, as we all do. And, you know, every culture has its own spring cleaning, you know?
Yeah. Like I was saying.
It's a universal human trait. Yeah, you just got to spring clean. I mean, you think about wintertime. That is the time of hibernation where you got to, like, well, here's, okay. In the winter, you are eating from a stockhold of provisions that have been set aside because nothing's growing. Mm-hmm. You're not able to hunt as much, so you've just got your storeroom. At springtime, your storeroom is empty. Perfect time to clean it before you start stocking it again.
That is the camp video games difference. That's what you come here for, is that level of thoughtfulness towards natural life.
Well, excuse me, Josh.
Excuse me, princess.
Sorry, I had to drop one of those.
So yeah, I think I did just break that ground, didn't I?
Yeah.
I'm a regular Zelda apologist there. I don't know. So what bothers me about this episode is that, okay, sure, it's spring cleaning time. That is like, you know, everybody wants to do this, but, and like, maybe this is one of those like those monarchs that want to appear to be like hands-on, right? Like, okay, Zelda, it's spring cleaning time. Do you not have like a bevy of servants that could maybe take care of this? Like, I'm literally like, okay, if I'm Link, my job is to protect the Triforce, because if the Triforce gets stolen, we're gonna get plunged into the Dark Ages. There's gonna be a pig in charge. Like, everything apparently goes wrong when Ganon gets the Triforce. I think if we like maybe relegate duties to the way that we're like, okay, yeah, I'm in charge of guarding the Triforce, which lives in my bedroom, by the way.
I mean, what safer place? It's like sleeping with your gun under your bed.
I sleep with a gun in my mouth.
I hope not. But, you know, I totally get what you're saying. I didn't think about it at all. That I was more peeved by the way she dupes dupes him into it.
Yeah.
With he's like,
She manipulates him.
smooch time, and he's like, you were kind of setting this up. I forget if we knocked it down or not.
Oh, never.
She sort of girl bosses him, which okay.
It's really hot when she does
Well,
that.
this is legitimately. This is legitimately an intersectionality problem.
Okay, go for it.
Because
you're using those words, man. Go for it.
Because as a woman, yes, like there's a power imbalance that she can play him like that, and it's fair. But as the monarch, who like you were setting up, should have like an army of people to handle this. And that like he has a job. You don't get to add. This is a complaint I had at my last day job. That
Yes, go for it.
They had at the bottom of my list of duties was and other duties as assigned.
That's a pit.
Yeah.
That is a pitfall, man.
And I was legitimately told one time when I was like, look at all the additional things you've added to my to-do list. And I literally the head of my organization told me, well, it does say and other duties as assigned at the bottom of your job title, like as a legitimate excuse. And that's what she's doing to him right now. So
Man.
there's a legitimate intersectionality problem in the way
Okay.
she treats him. Both in making him do the cleaning and in the way she tasks him to do it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm so
gonna
glad
get off my soapbox.
I'm so glad you're here to stand on your soapbox because we really need
intersectional feminism or get the fuck out.
vocabulary. I just don't know what intersectionality means.
All right.
And I'm not trying to be willfully ignorant.
No, like it is like if your concerns for the marginalized are tunnel visioned on just one aspect of identity.
Oh.
So in that case, it's problematic because you're supposed to root for her because she's a woman. She's like the underclass, so she's allowed to girl boss, but she's also in charge economically, monarchically rule. Yeah, so there's a power imbalance that is not addressed. I'm sorry, I'm not that serious about this in this cartoon,
dude.
but it is something people should consider in their real life.
She is using their power dynamic in a way that puts him at odds.
Yeah.
So, like what any mature, responsible hero of Hyrule would do, he pretends to have a cold to get out of this job. And like, sure. At this point, we talked about this in the previous episode's breakdown, where like it seems to be that this takes place after The Legend of Zelda, the first video game.
Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of takes place in this. In like the what would the hero do after he won the game?
Exactly, and that's what it begs, and that's what
Or
this
window of time.
show seems to answer. Is that like, okay, you have fulfilled your destiny. You have just like done like the most heroic thing that you'll ever do in your life, and now I'm gonna need you to do other duties.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
so it almost in like when you compare it to real life, it almost forgives some of his problematic behavior. So like the real life example of that comes to the mind of this is Michael Phelps. I don't know how much you know about Michael Phelps' story.
I know he blows that sweet grass, and he swims real fast.
So Michael Phelps is the most decorated athlete of all time, and in the 2008 Beijing Olympics, he won more gold medals than anybody's ever won in an Olympics by a single hundredth of a second. By the way, I'm a huge swimming nerd.
He's a regular Zora.
Yeah. Between that time and 2 or 3 years ago, he sort of disappeared from public life and would show up in the media. They'd be like, "Oh my God, he smoked weed."
I saw Michael Phelps and he wasn't even swimming.
I forget if the weed smoking was before or after Beijing. I'm pretty sure it was after. But anyway, so he legitimately, and now he's like an advocate for mental health because he legitimately went through like a deep mental health crisis and depression because it was like, you did the thing. And this is what you've been raised to do your whole life.
Yeah.
That's the end of your usefulness, even though he was still competitive enough and he did a few more Olympics after that. But like, he just felt like I reached the mountaintop and now what do I do? So I think he developed like another drinking problem. I think he got like a DUI and now he's sober. Don't quote me on the details, but that's the general arc of his story. And then like the last Olympics was his sort of retirement. And that was like the redemption story they kind of gave him. It was like, hey, he went through a hard time. we gave him a hard time in the media, and now he's back and like, yeah, he's not going to win 8 gold medals again, but like he's still competitive and keeping his life good. It's right. I love Michael Phelps. He's my favorite athlete.
That's dope. I mean, it seems like, like a tragic narrative sense. Like once you reach the top, you're only able to look down.
Mm-hmm. And that's where Link is. And like some of this lascivious behavior, like, I'm gonna fake sick. I need some excitement in my life.
He's in charge of protecting a divine artifact, and then he's handed a mop, and like told to it's like he's not above doing his share of the chores, I guess, but it's a nice it's a contrast of like, oh, this is not what he expected to, this is not the heroic life that he expected.
Yeah.
It's like in episode 1 where he's like, ugh, I'm waking up in a bed. I'm like not homeless anymore. And like, it's just like being a hero kind of sucks now that I've like won.
Yeah,
Or it's like the veteran who returns after the war.
Yeah.
And I at least in like my family, like they would forgive like the World War II veteran of his like really bad behavior after the war because they're like, oh, but he did defeat the Nazis, like,
but no veteran in this country after that war.
Oh no. Those weren't like the right wars.
Yeah, it's so weird. Anyway,
so yeah, Link, he's the hero, and he is the blank canvas on which so many kids like painted their imaginations on, right? You play as Link, you are now going through Hyrule, you're the hero. And the problem with the show is that they portray him acting in such unheroic ways, and he's just like a schmuck who like over exaggerates his worth in some ways, and is just like, and he's acting like a bit of a jerk. He's taking advantage of their good faith in him.
Yeah,
and
it's funny because when the show came out, I was just like, oh my God, this thing that like none of my friends are into. If anybody at school found out I was into it, they'd relentlessly make fun of me, even more than they already do, has its own TV show. That was all I cared about. So I didn't think about like any of that. But like it does take all the magical abstraction away from that character that at that point, and it was so abstract at that point that your imagination, nothing could top it, right?
For sure.
It does kind of kill that in a way.
Yeah. That's why the video games really embrace having Link be a silent protagonist.
Exactly.
So that you can project yourself onto him, and he's not going to betray what you think a hero acts like.
Right.
So yeah, Link plays sick, which fools Sprite, the fairy, the Tinkerbell of the show, and she buys it. I mean, she'll buy anything that Link sells. Really, she's like super in love with him and not afraid to show it. And so she insists that Link rests, so he gets into bed. So we then cut to Zelda. So Zelda, the first place that she decides to clean as the show goes is Link's room. Because he wasn't in his room when she gave him the mop. They were down in the castle courtyard. So, like, Zelda, she's in Link's room. That's the first place that she wants to clean. It was like, wouldn't she just tell Link to clean his room? But, he's got a pile of laundry. Probably 8-foot tall pile of laundry.
Classic closed chair pile. Or lack of closed chair, rather.
This is the best detail in the show so far, is that he has just a huge amount of the same outfit. And I'm kind of like that too, where it's like I've got a bunch of the same looking jeans, a bunch of black t-shirts, or the same looking kinds of thing. Like we all got our uniform, and Link's got his, but he's just got so many of the same one of them. And that seems to bother Zelda, that he's just got like a messy room, and she's kind of complaining about it. But then the Triforce, which lives in Link's room and which is a sentient talking thing, it defends Link's sloppiness. And she always, I don't know, the Triforce speaks in rhymes. That's got a classical precedent, right? Like the divine always speak in rhymes. I don't know.
My mind just goes to Shakespearean couplets and iambic pentameter that people just infuse that style of
Yeah.
speaking with some level of like grandiose importance.
I think that there's like a precedent with like comic book or something else where like the divine creature always speaks in rhymes, which is interesting. Anyway, the Triforce defends Link's sloppiness. It basically tells Zelda that it's like it's okay if he's untidy. He's like good at other stuff.
Yeah.
Like and like Zelda's I don't know.
Which is like if we're assuming that the Triforce of Wisdom is the one residing in Hyrule Castle, it's like that. I think that's fair worldly wisdom.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, she's just spitting some universal truths here. Yeah. Then Zelda opens a window and she gets attacked by a Moby, which is that big bird that you fight in Zelda 2. And
I'm scrolling. I'm scrolling through the frames as we're doing it.
oh, cool.
And I just got to what happens next, which is she shoves the bird's face.
Yes.
And like borderline suffocates this bird.
It looks like she's about to put somebody like in a hospital bed, like out of their misery.
Yeah.
Like the look in her face, dude. She's like she's like pushing its head into the dirty laundry. And this is the best part is it's not what you think is going to happen here. Like I assumed that like the bird was like going to faint or like go unconscious or something, but then it flies away with an audible "P-U." It flies out the window.
Yeah, and it comes out like gasping for air as if she would have just brutally murdered it the way like you shove a pillow over somebody's face like you were talking about.
That would be some brave television just to show the Legend of Zelda suffocating a bird. So after the bird flies out the window, or I guess it escapes out the window, really, just like trying not to suffocate.
She
Zelda
gives it a shaking fist and yells at it.
Zelda like falls back onto Link's bed, like kind of in exhaustion. She just had to exert herself. She hasn't like had to like trigger like her like survival mode in a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
It's all that adrenaline does wear you out. She falls down onto Link's bed, but then like Link walks in at that moment. And this is one of the more notorious moments of the show that seems to get referenced a lot.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say this is where he loses any kudos or good boy points he got with the flower at the beginning.
Oh yeah. He is not a smooth operator in this case. But yeah, he sees Zelda laying there on his bed, and what does he say?
I don't recall. Do you have it written down?
Boy, it's smooching time. That's the hero of Hyrule. Oh boy, it's smooching time.
Yeah, and I'm looking at his face as he says that, and follows up by diving at her in the bed, and she is like, this
is the hero.
Adults
This is the hero
don't
of
need
our
to draw
cartoon.
children's programming like this. That's all I'm gonna say.
She's like kind of splayed on there. And
Yeah.
There's a lot of come hither. That's like that's just the adult animator. Just like, man, it'd be great if I could get some other gigs, maybe some of those after hours gigs as an animator. But so Zelda, she's like, don't jump at me, like But Sprite, she tells Zelda, don't be mean. Link's sick. And Zelda's like, I'll say he's sick. He's sick in the head. He's sick in the pants.
Yeah.
Then like Link like turns on his like sick boy attitude, like, or his act. He's like, I'm sick. I need nasal decongestant or something. So Zelda and Sprite, they have to like resume their chores. Link gets back into bed. Meanwhile, that Moby, that big mean bird that nearly got suffocated, it overhears that they're cleaning. He's like, oh, it is spring cleaning, isn't it? Like, it is the first day of spring. I am apparently an animal who can rationalize language, and like, because it then this Moby flies to Death Mountain, I assume, like a big volcano, to tell Ganon about like, Ganon, it's spring cleaning. It's episode 2 and we're already here.
You know, I think the bird could have figured out contextually from having its face shoved in the dirty, stinky
At least I
pile.
hope it's spring cleaning. That smell.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, Ganon sees spring cleaning as a chance to try to steal the Triforce. He summons a big bug. My first thought is that it was like a millipede.
It is a sick whip, is what it is. It's a gnarly way to get around as a bad guy. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, for sure. We were saying in the commentary for this episode, if you want to listen to that, you can join us on Patreon. Well, I won't even say what we were saying about it, so you can just listen to that. So Ganon, he's like, "Thanks for the tip, you big bird," and then he just zaps him back into the evil jar. Like, back to the evil jar is what he says. It's literally just called the evil jar. Like, put
I've
quotes
watched this a
around
couple
that.
times and have not caught that it's called the evil jar.
So much of this stuff just like washes over me, and it's not until because listeners, I keep a notebook next to me as I watch this, and I'm taking notes on this like it's important.
I'm sorry.
That's how I enjoy myself.
Yeah.
So we then go to back to Hyrule Castle.
All right. So
It's chores time.
yeah, before we get back to chores time, I'm sorry. The way I operate is visual cues and reminders. So I'm as Sean's going through his written notes, I'm using visual notes of like scrolling frame by frame through the show. And we were talking earlier about the design of the castle, and I'm gonna show a freeze frame of it to Junior Counselor Sean now. And I just want you to just tell me, design wise, come on. They drew a bunch of dicks and called it a castle and made it also kind of a bong.
So listeners, there's this great thing called the Rorschach test. And what it does is it tells you really not what
Come on.
is in front of you. It tells you how the person viewing what is in front of you
Come
sees the world.
on.
So Junior Counselor Josh, he sees a bunch of
Look at that castle.
sees a bunch of ding dongs and bing bongs.
Look at that goddamn castle.
Oof. I'm looking at it. I like what I see.
All right.
I'll
let you go on.
I'd storm that castle. So Sprite, she's doing some cleaning, and she's using magic to clean a rug, and then this old woman. You know what? I'm gonna describe her as a crone.
Oh, jeez.
She looks like a much more important character than she is. Like, I don't know, like the character design is just like, here's this like classic like crone witch, like old like wise woman kind of character, and she's like, I've got oranges.
Yeah, and I don't know if this was the intention of Bob Forward and company, but she has the vibe of the old women in the villages in Zelda 2.
Oh, the ones that
Adventures of
restore your magic points.
Yes,
like the senoritas.
Not the ones you go in the house alone
The ones who
with
look
and you
like
get your health
like
back.
the ones who take your health back to full. They always to me looked like Spanish like senoritas, like that classical like
Yeah, they have like a-
Selma Hayek, or not Selma Hayek. Oh shoot, who is she in the Mark of Zorro? It's not Selma Hayek. Catherine Zeta-Jones. That look that she wears. That's a sidebar, bro.
That character, I got a vibe from that character that they had like this like stylish like pillbox hat with the mesh cover.
Yes. Oh yeah.
And like a layered dress, like what you're alluding to, like you might use for like flamenco. Like they were very mind-provoking character design in however many pixels they had to work with.
Right. And then the old women all kind of looked like
They had this hunched over look like this lady here. Yeah.
yeah. And so Sprite gets an orange from her because she wants
Needs
to
that vitamin C.
get some VC to our boy Link. But then Ganon zaps Sprite with like some magic that's like not totally like explain what is going to happen, or like like if I was Ganon and like I've had to like he's encountered Sprite already at this point in the show. We've seen them like interact I think. And like, why wouldn't Ganon just like blast that girl? Like, just like smoke her.
I don't know. He thinks a few steps ahead. If Sprite just disappears, all of a sudden they're on alarm. I'm not gonna think that hard about this.
Yeah, no, that's the right way to go. So yeah, he like zaps Sprite, and it seems to have a subtle and not totally understood effect on her at this point. Back in his room, Link, he's pretending to battle Ganon. He's like doing some jump kicks and saying like, "I'll take that, Ganon," like doing some classic like play pretend.
Yeah, that was my life at the age that this show was coming out.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but he does have a kind of nice. There's like just a little animation kudos where they do this sort of like flowing momentum, kind of like freeze frame in the air, and then the momentum pushes through, and he has a sick kick. Yeah, so a little kudos on the thoughtfulness there.
They put a lot of thought into how Link pretends to battle Ganon. And then he hears Sprite come into his room with his orange. So then he like puts the sick ack. Oh my god. So he starts to pretend he's sick again.
That boy's sick.
His sick act back. Yeah, so does he eat the orange? I don't know if we get to see him like probably not. That's like too much work.
He actually tosses it away.
He throws it into a stone
He's
cauldron.
not gonna eat something healthy.
He throws it into a stone cauldron over a fire and adds some Hylian shrooms and maybe he gets some simmered fruit out of that. No, you don't get oranges in Breath of the Wild, do you? You get apples, you get bananas, you get durians, you get all sorts of things, but no oranges. I wonder if there's any citrus in Hyrule outside of the castle. Anyway, so Sprite, she tries to use her magic to keep up with all of these chores, like because now that Link's not doing his third of the chores, because apparently only those 3 are doing chores. So like Sprite's got to do like overtime, but because of the whatever Ganon zapped her with, everything that Sprite like tries to use magic on goes like haywire. It's kind of like how Ganon like corrupted all the Guardians with malice, Like,
yeah.
But the mops, like they start like they have a mind. It goes full Fantasia.
Yes, that is exactly what I was about to mention. It's got this very Fantasia vibe, whatever that section of Fantasia was called.
Yeah, you know the one.
The Sorcerer's Apprentice, the story of, I tried to make things easier with magic, and oh no, I made things worse, which is actually sort of an allegory for technology, referring back to, depending on the release order, probably the episode before this we talked about in reviewing Breath of the Wild. Anyway.
Yeah, you can't. The thing that can provide everything can take everything away. So like that's why, I don't trust the government.
So anyway, his room gets flooded.
Yeah. Oh, but not before a washcloth like anthropomorphizes and it punches Sprite unconscious. The Link and Zelda, they hear Sprite cry as she gets punched, and all the magical mayhem like washes them out. Link's got a horrible zinger. Is this a royal flush?
Oh yeah.
I realized I seem to put a lot of like vitriolic anger toward Link when I like impersonate him. Like,
no, he deserves it.
Yeah.
It's the writing is what it is. I don't want to knock somebody's work, but the character himself is not admirable in any way.
That's true. That's the main problem I have with this series is that Link is like his chance to act heroic is far. His chances to act heroic are far fewer than his like chances to like just be like a complete pain in the butt and like a problematic like dingus. I said it.
Idle hands, man.
So
daggone Devil's Playground.
The next up we see Ganon. He's riding his pill bug or
sick,
whatever.
Dude. It's so sick.
He rides it right into Link's room, steals the Triforce, and all the corrupted cleaning implements attack Link and Zelda. And then when Sprite explains that, like, oh well, they just started acting that way when I magicked them, like Zelda and Link are immediately like, it must be Ganon.
Yeah. Is this the scene where we get the sort of, for this series, the canonical establishment of like how storing their items works? Or is that the next one?
In the last episode, we did see like
We
Link.
saw they could like magic it away, but
They shrink down to like hand size.
Yeah.
Like, well, in the first episode, for sure, we see like Link pick up a magical bow, and then it shrinks when he puts it into his fanny pack.
Yeah.
His adventure fanny pack. Yeah. So they jump onto their horses to chase Ganon. And Ganon escapes to his pig cave. And they follow him in there. Link gives Zelda a bow and a boomerang, although I don't think we see her use the boomerang at all.
She uses it to sweep out some of the corrupted magical like cleaning objects.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for
very
clarifying.
briefly.
God, I wouldn't hear the end of that in the.
Yeah,
in
they're
the
gonna come
comments.
after you in the comments. Before they like go down to Ganon, there's like one sort of comparative thing that I'm curious how much of this was the writers of this just being like, I don't know, let's just make a quick, easy way for them to get around, versus was this actually in their show Bible they worked from that they were given. Because in the original Zelda, you can warp there's like sections where you can like move a brick.
Yeah.
Or and then you go down and there's stairwells that lead you to different areas. And in this, like parts of nature will rise up and down, similar to like Breath of the Wild shrines. And we were joking during the commentary about like, does Ganon just have a network of tubes? Does he just have a physical internet
He's
running
the
through
tube
the earth?
lord.
And so, it's like, oh, maybe it really was derived from like the form of travel in the original game. I'm trying to be charitable, but
No, that's dope.
but it's
man.
also just a convenient like way to get through story.
Yeah, I love that idea. Like, I remember, up in the mountainous area in the original Zelda, you could like push a boulder to the side, and then that would take you to the opposite side of the map. If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, there's I think a total of 4 warps, because whenever you go into a warp, there's there's 3 stairwells, which means that there's a total of 3 other places you can go plus where you are. Yeah.
Okay. So Link and Zelda, they follow Ganon into his cave, into his like, what? We got to come up with a name for his like lair, like
The piggy tubes.
the pig palace.
The pig palace. The piggy tubes that lead to the pig palace.
Piggy tubes. All piggy tubes lead to the same pig palace.
To the same pork palace.
Pork palace. Yep. Zelda gets ensnared by an evil root, and Link zaps it with his sword. And like, this happens like boom, boom. When Link zaps the root, he like barely avoids hitting Zelda. Like, there's so much root for him to hit, and he's just like, let's go for it. Let's scare her too. I want her to feel this. And then Link.
Definitely not, a like very healthy domestic environment they live in, it feels like.
Link then gets caught with one, and Zelda shoots the root with her magic bow, and nearly blows him away at the same time. And then that actually brings me to like a thought: like, do we ever see Link or Zelda? This is something for me to remember as we go through the episodes. Do we ever see them directly get shot ever, or like we see Link get like tripped. We see him get like tied up.
Oh,
maybe.
that boy's gonna get tripped.
That boy tripping. But like, do we ever see them get like incapacitated by an attack? I would like to find out. So then after they both free themselves from the roots, which I'm thinking about. In one of the teaser trailers for Tears of the Kingdom, we saw these like in one of the underground cave sections, which I could talk about speculate. We'll save that speculation for Tears of the Kingdom, because at the time of recording, it's about a month away.
Yeah.
And I am just
Losing it.
frothing. We see some like malicious plant life that looks like, I think it's one of the sections where you see like Link using like a hand attachment where it like breathes fire, and he's like fighting a root. But I'm sure that has nothing to do with this show. Although it's always curious. I'm always curious, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to talk about the Zelda animated series in general, is because love it or leave it, like no matter what, it's a permanent part of Zelda history.
Yeah.
And you're always, as long as there's Zelda, there's going to be some slight reference to this show, because it's now they're forever entwined. There's no taking back 1989. Like they have to admit that this is a part of Zelda history.
Do you say the same for the Wand of Gamelon?
As far as what the Wand of Gamelon means to like the pop culture in broad terms, it seems to mostly be that those CDI games are mostly remembered for their really off-putting animated like cutscenes.
Yeah.
But like if I saw gameplay footage of Wand of Gamelon, I doubt I'd even be able to identify it like out of context.
Yeah.
Because I've never played. I don't have
And
a CDI.
that is the difference when you watch this show. And if you've played the games, you say that is a world that has been established.
Yeah.
Outside of this.
So yeah, after they fight with those roots, Link and Zelda fall into a trapdoor. At this point, Ganon's got 2 pieces of the Triforce, and there's this great shot where he's got the Triforces on either side of him, and he's in the middle. And like the rule of thirds in like photography design or in graphic design in general, it's really satisfying.
Yeah, there's even like a decent depth of field to it. Sorry, I'm nerding out because I'm actually looking at the frames of him looking back over his shoulder, and you just see the sight line drawing you to the Triforce. And seeing them side by side is worth noting. We can see the red Triforce of Power and the blue Triforce of Wisdom.
Yeah, so where's that green Triforce of Courage? Is it in Link's hand all along? Yeah, so Zelda and Link fall into a jar. Not the evil jar, which is where he summons all of his...
An evil jar.
Yeah, it's just one of the evil... it's an evil jar. And then a Goma... That's the big spider with the one eye.
Loved seeing that one.
Attacks them. But there's a great moment where when Link and Zelda are in the jar and Link tries to shoot his way out.
Yeah.
It's just like in the trash compactor scene in A New Hope.
And it's actually...
where like Link...
Another interesting detail about it is it uses what at that time you would think of like a Western gunfire sound.
Oh, like the ricochet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like instead of most of the other like attack like scenes where they use weapons make sounds from Zelda.
Yeah.
And this one just uses just like
you know what?
Wild West gunshot.
We can address this now, I guess, because like for Link, he does not in like a practical sense have a sword. He seems to have a 6-shooter the entire time. Like anytime he fights with people, he's not using a sword. He's using a gun. And like I remember as a kid, even oh god, this is a weird early memory. Playing because I had no trouble finding people that were interested in Zelda when I was a kid. Like that was one of the things that people would play like on the playground.
But
the thing that the teachers didn't like is when kids would use what they said were swords as if they were guns. And they would be like, no, you can't play with it like that. We don't want you to play games where you're shooting guns. Sure, you can stab each other all you want, but just no guns, okay, kids? And this is pre-Columbine and all that stuff. Like,
right.
It's just a weird unlocked memory here. Oh my god! I just unlocked a memory.
Show.
I have to update my Sheikah slate. I just unlocked a memory.
And yeah, go see Impa. Get your hero's tunic or whatever.
Oh man. So Link tries to blast his way out of the evil jar. That doesn't work. And then the Goma. Oh my god! And like Ganon is like getting angry at the Goma for not attacking them the right way. He's like, no, don't hit them. Try to get them out of the jar. We're like, Ganon, what's the plan here? Yeah. Like, why don't you just throw a fucking Molotov cocktail in there or something? Yeah. Just like roast them. Like, you don't need to get a big monster to do what you can shoot magic. We later see he shoots fire. Like, why not? You know what? No, if you want to be a villain, you've got both of your nemesis in a jar that's impervious to like their attacks. Just put a lid on it. Let them run out of air.
Yeah.
Like
Well, but of course.
the show has to happen.
Well, I'm always the rationalist of like, but the way, you do this kind of music, like, oh, they got to tell their whole plan. They got to overcomplicate it.
Check out my monsters!
For some reason, the Goma pulls him out with a claw. But right after that, there's a really fun animation of Ganon running as Link's shooting at his feet, because you can never shoot at the actual target. He does the Zoidberg from Futurama, the like, and like runs out. Like he kind of like bounces back and forth like him.
Oh man, who would Zoidberg would be a pretty good like parallel for Ganon. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to make it really stupid hypothetical question. Who would Ganon be in Futurama?
Zoidberg.
Yeah, I like that.
This version, yes.
Why not Ganon? So
They go ahead.
well, the Goma attacks them, but it gets destroyed by Ganon. Like when he's like in a crossfire, maybe. And then Sprite frees Zelda from the jar.
Yes.
Because I guess because the Goma picked Link out. You're looking at the playback.
Yeah.
Here,
I'll give you. I'll do the.
I need an
play-by-play
accurate play-by-play because
No, Ganon's shooting Din's fire at Link. Link jumps out of the way. It hits the Goma. And then in the distraction, Sprite, and the reason I wanted to give a play-by-play of this is just another fun animation detail. I'm going to try to give these guys as much credit as I can, is that she does, we talked about this earlier, she does like finger guns to shoot her magic.
right. Oh, like Spike does
But
in
there's
Cowboy
actually,
Bebop. See you later, Space Cowboy.
Yeah, but when she does it, there's actually backfire.
Oh, recoil.
Yeah, recoil. Which is just like, that's a nice little detail to animate instead of just like, oh, just freeze frame and then like shoot the thing with her fingers.
Yeah.
Like to actually, she has recoil to her magic.
That's weird. Like it seems like the show cut corners on a lot of things, but not on like some of the more fluid animation.
Give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, dude. Oh, and okay, so yeah, Ganon accidentally shoots Goma, and then Zelda straight up shoots Ganon. So that kind of, I was gonna say, like, do we ever see Link or Zelda get like shot? Mm-hmm. But
And when she shoots him, he disappears in a fade of green.
just like our sweet monks.
Yeah.
What are they, just like monks of Hylia, or like Sheikah monks? Like this is a more Breath of the Wild.
That's the other end of the podcast.
Tune in, keep tuning in. I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah. So then, like Ganon blasts his ceiling and causes it to like cave in.
And Zelda, in the meantime, takes a shot at reaching out for the Triforce of Power.
Yeah, she's going for both of them. She's like, why not both?
Yeah.
And but only has time to get the Triforce of Wisdom back before they like escape the avalanche. And I gotta say, it looks like Ganon's got some spring cleaning to do. I've been so excited
Got
to
his
say that.
ass. Got his ass.
Yeah, and then let's see. That's how the episode ends, really. Like they just like
they
escape,
do,
and they're like, well,
a quick follow up.
I hope Ganon died.
Yeah, which like because the last scene that they give their one liner or whatever it was about, you got the Triforce back, and then it like fades. It focuses on the window and then cuts even closer to the window, and you think, obviously, like any like children's cartoon, this is where you get the reset button.
The cliffhanger,
hit. Yeah, and he goes, "I'll get you next week" or whatever. Nope, just back to an establishing shot of like the castle at the end.
The end. Question mark?
Ganon's dead.
That's
And
episode
now
2.
live action Mario's dancing, and that's
Paisanos. Have we laughed? Have we cried? Have we been enthralled with the drama and the action? I'd say so, because we just watched episode 2 of The Legend of Zelda, Cold Spell.
Yeah.
It should have been called Spring Cleaning. Well, campers, thanks for joining us on this discussion of the Legend of Zelda series, episode 2. Please follow us on Instagram at Camp Video Games, and if you'd like to reach out and let us know what you think of the show or what you'd like us to discuss next, maybe you've got a video game adaptation that you love and you want to hear two sweet goofballs talk about it, why don't you give us an email at campvideogames@gmail.com. And yeah, thanks for listening. Y'all are just the swellest group of happy campers I could have ever hoped to counsel.
If you'd like to write to us, send a message to campvideogames@gmail.com and follow us on Instagram at campvideogames. If you want to become a real happy camper, you can support Camp Video Games on Patreon. For $5 a month, you'll be granted access to even more discussions about movie-based video games, game-based movies, full-length commentaries, playthroughs, and more. Whether you sign up or not, we're glad to have you here at Camp Video Games.